Okay, so today I'll be able to graph the sine function and identify parts of the graph, such as the amplitude, the period, and the midline. So go ahead and pause the video and type in your focused learning target. Okay, most of the time we will graph with radians. So not degrees. This unit we're just focused on radians. Okay. So I'm also going to be using Desmos simultaneously, so you might want to open up another tab or maybe have your Desmos app open on your phone. And we're going to go ahead and do this. I have a table for you. These are all of our x values, and we're just going to go ahead and plug it into our sine. Remember, if you're using a calculator, make sure your phone is set to radian mode. So you do need to make sure that you're in radian mode. Let me show you how to do that. Let's say you're using your phone calculator and you turn your phone over to the side. To use radians, you will be make sure that your phone is in radians. So this bottom left, right now it's in degrees. Make sure you hit rad so that it is in radian mode. Or if you want to just use the Desmos app, you can just pull up Desmos like this. So we're going to first type in sine. To type in sine, you're going to go to functions, which is FUNCS. You're going to type in sine and 0. Sine of 0 is just 0. Sine pi over 6, so pi divided by 6, 0.5. Sine pi over 2 is 1. We're going to go ahead and do this for all of them. Sine of 5 pi over 6, 0.5. Sine of pi is 0. Sine of 7 pi over 6, negative 0.5. 3 pi over 2, negative 1. 11 pi divided by 6, negative 0.5. Sine of 2 pi is 0. So there's our full chart. We just use the calculator or Desmos. We're going to go ahead and now graph this function. I've already shown you the graph on your Google Docs, so you don't have to do it. But I'm going to go ahead and show you how to graph. I'm starting off with 0, 0. Pi over 6 is between 0 and pi over 2. So pi over 6, comma 0.5. I'm going to say this is 0.5. And this is 1. This is negative 0.5, this is negative 1. At pi over 2, we have 1. At 5 pi over 6, we have 0.5. At pi, we have 0. 7 pi over 6 is negative 0.5. 3 pi over 2 is negative 1. 11 pi over 6 is negative 0.5. 2 pi is 0. So if you notice here, if I connect the points, the sine function looks like this. You can also continue this, and if I were to continue it, it would go up, and then it would go back down, like a wave. You can continue on the other side. Let's go down, then back up, then back down, and then back up. And then I would have all the same points. Good. So in this space provided for you, you're going to go ahead and type in anything. What is something that you notice about this graph? So type in anything into your Google Docs. The last thing we're going to do is look at key terms. So we have 3 different key terms we're going to focus on today. One is amplitude. So you're going to go ahead and type in the definition. The amplitude is the height of the graph. So the period is the length of one cycle, and then the midline is the middle of the graph. So go ahead and type in all of those definitions into your Google Docs, and let me show you what each of these mean. I'm going to start off with the midline. So the midline is the middle of the graph. So if you look here, the middle of the graph is this guy right here. So I can split my graph exactly in half. This right here is the midline. The amplitude is the height of the graph. So what I mean by that, the amplitude is the distance from the midline to the top of the graph. So if you look here, this right here is the amplitude. In this case, from here to here, if you look, it's 1. So the amplitude of this graph is 1. If you look here, from the midline to the bottom of the graph, this right here is also called the amplitude. And it should be the same for the top and the bottom. If this is 1, you can also see this here should also be 1. The last thing is the period. The period is the length of one cycle. So the sine function, it goes back and forth. It goes up and then it goes back down, and then it goes back up and then it goes back down. This is considered one cycle when it goes up, back down, and it ends at 2 pi. This right here is considered one cycle. Goes up, down, back up. This right here goes up, down, back up. This is considered another cycle. So this graph, what I show here, is 2 cycles of the sine graph. The sine graph has a period of 2 pi because it takes 2 pi to complete one cycle. And then if I go here, it takes another 2 pi to complete another cycle. So let's just write that as a note. Sine of x has a period of 2 pi.